What is going on, college football fans? Today we're going to take a look at your guys' hot takes heading into this upcoming college football season. We're adding a little feature to the hot takes videos. I now have to pick a side whether I am buying or selling each hot take in this video, and I'm also going to sprinkle in a few of my own hot takes throughout the video as well. So I'm ready to get started. I just want to say subscribe if you guys are new. Only 1,000 subs away from 5K. We do a ton of college football and college basketball content here on the channel, so if you are a college sports fan, make sure you guys hit that sub button. And yeah guys, let's get it started. Alright, so we got hot takes on the YouTube community page and also Twitter. We're going to go through the YouTube community page first, and then we'll get to the Twitter fans hot takes after. So our first hot take is coming in here from Arthur Sanford, and he says Tennessee will beat Alabama and Georgia but lose to Florida this season. Now, this is an interesting hot take and a lot to unpack. I do think that Tennessee is going to be super good once again this season. Josh Heupel has shown that he is one of the best offensive coaches in college football, not even exaggerating. He knows how to put points on the board, and they do have Georgia at home this season. So I think, looking at Georgia's schedule, Tennessee has the best shot at taking down Georgia. Now, for them to also beat Alabama on the road this year, I know they just beat them last year. Alabama does not have Bryce Young, and they kind of have some issues going on there with their quarterback situation. So I do believe that Alabama is beatable, and Tennessee, Florida, that's a rival game. Anything can happen in that one. I could see this happening, but I am going to have to sell this hot take. It's a little bit too much to ask you there for Alabama and for Tennessee to beat Alabama and Georgia. I have to sell this one, but I really do like this hot take. Our next one is coming in here from Mavericks and Pelicans, and he says LSU beats Florida State, loses to Alabama, but still wins the SEC West. Now, I actually kind of like this hot take. I do believe that LSU will probably beat Florida State opening week of the college football season. I really like this LSU squad that they have this season. I think that they are going to win the SEC West. They're my favorites to win the SEC West. And if they also lose to Alabama, that would imply that that would probably be their only loss, and Alabama has another loss on top of that. I could see this situation playing out, and I'm actually going to buy this hot take here by Mavericks and Pelicans fan. Very good hot take, and I could see it playing out for sure. One is coming in here from USGU, and he says Oklahoma State and Baylor will both have losing records, and no, I can't. I have to sell this hot take right off rip. And I don't see either one of these teams not making a bowl game, let alone both of them. I'm actually pretty high on Baylor this season. I think that Dave Aranda is a very underrated defensive coach. When they won the Big 12 championship a couple of years ago, that defense was loaded, and I do think they're going to have a better offensive play this season than they did last year, and you cannot count out Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State. I do think Oklahoma State will probably have a down year this year, again, like 6-6, 7-5, around that range, but I think that both these teams will be in a bowl game, and I think that Baylor bounces back from their not-so-great year last season. Next one's coming in here from Sawyer, and he says Kansas to the Big 12 championship. Now, Kansas is improving, and they made a bowl game last year at 6-6, but for them to make the Big 12 championship, they have to be a top 2 team in the Big 12 by the end of the year, and I just don't see that happening. There are so many good teams in the Big 12 conference. Now, I do believe that Kansas will get back to another bowl game this season. They're bringing back Jalen Daniels at quarterback, super fun player to watch. They have a really good coach, a really good offense, but I don't think they're going to make the Big 12 championship. I think they could improve this year, maybe get to 7-5 and maybe win their bowl game, but I don't see them getting all the way there, so I'm going to have to sell this take. Our next one's coming in here from Kenneth, and he says Arkansas wins the SEC West but loses in the SEC championship game. Now, I'm going to have to sell this take. Arkansas, I don't doubt that they have a solid squad. KJ Jefferson coming back, a really fun quarterback to watch if he can stay healthy. And Arkansas has been improving under Sam Pittman. But the SEC West is just stacked, and the SEC as a whole is just too stacked. And for them to beat out LSU and Alabama, and other teams like Texas A&M could have a bounce back year. You have Auburn, who could have a bounce back year as well. Ole Miss, who's always in the mix as well. Mississippi State is going to be pretty decent. Once again, I just don't see how Arkansas can get through all of that and come out on the top. I think at best, Arkansas finishes third in the West, just behind LSU and Alabama. Those two teams are just too stacked this year. I'm going to have to sell this take. All right, before we get into the Twitter hot takes, I have a hot take or two that I want to share of my own in this video. Now, my first hot take is that Alabama will be the third or maybe even the fourth best team in the SEC conference this year. Now, I think that Georgia and LSU are both better than Alabama this year on paper. Now, Alabama could come out and surprise a lot of people this year and get back to the college football playoff and maybe even win the national championship. They have the team to do that, but they have a lot of quarterback issues going on over there right now, and I believe that Georgia and LSU are both better than Alabama and maybe even Tennessee as well. Now, the Tennessee part is where it kind of gets hot. I think Alabama could possibly be the fourth best team in the SEC. Let me know what you guys think. All right, now getting to the Twitter fam's hot takes. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at SixManDanny, always tweeting stuff about college sports over there. But our first one from Twitter is coming in here from JJ, aka FAU Al fan, and he says Washington makes the college football playoffs. Now, Washington has an absolute squad, and actually, in my opinion, at this point, I think Washington might win the Pac-12 this year, but winning the Pac-12 does not necessarily mean that you are going to make the college football playoff. I mean, we saw two really good Utah teams the past 2 years win the Pac-12 championship but not get into the college football playoff. Now, I could see something like that happening with Washington. They have Michael Penix Jr. coming back, who is going to be a Heisman contender for sure. They have two returning 1,000-plus yard receivers coming back to this Washington team, and they are going to have a good defense as well. They have everything it takes to maybe make a push at the college football playoff. Now, this is probably the closest one I've seen on here so far, whether I want to buy it or sell it, but ultimately I am going to sell this take. I think Washington right now are my favorites to win the Pac-12, but I don't think that anyone out of the Pac-12 is going to make the college football playoff this season, just because they are all just going to eat each other. You have Oregon, you have Oregon State, you have USC, Utah, so many good teams along with Washington. UCLA even is pretty good. You got to watch out for Colorado and Deion Sanders. They're not going to be that great this year, but you know, they may catch somebody. So you got to look out for these teams. I think they're all just going to eat each other, and nobody is going to end up getting in from the Pac-12 conference. So I'm going to have to sell this. Our next hot take is coming in here from QT, and he says Memphis is winning the AAC. If you look into it, we had a lot of one-score games last year, and this roster is better. Now, I like what he said in the second part of that. Memphis is going to be really good and one of the best teams in the AAC next season, especially with UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston, which were all top teams in that conference, all leaving for the Big 12. It's kind of wide open, and it's looking like it's between Memphis and Tulane at this point as to who's going to win that conference, but I am going to have to sell this take. I think that Tulane is going to win this conference, but I do think Memphis has a really good season. I think the quarterback Seth Hennigan is really underrated, and he's going to have a really good year in that conference, especially with Houston, Cincinnati, and them all heading out. I'm going to have to sell this take, but I do think Memphis is in for a pretty good season. We got one coming in here from Alex, and he says Texas wins in Tuscaloosa. Now, this is a pretty hot take, but I could maybe see this happening. I've mentioned a couple of times in this video during these hot takes that Alabama is having some quarterback issues. Now, Texas has the talent to be able to beat this Alabama team. Quinn Ewers, he's going to be a stud this season, just has to stay healthy, and Texas always has really good talent. But I am going to have to sell this hot take. I think it would be awesome to see a team like Texas beat Alabama, and all the fans would say Texas is back, we're going to win the Big 12, we're going to go crazy, and then they lose to other teams, like they lose to Kansas again or something like that. That would be awesome to see, but I am going to have to sell this hot take. I just think in Tuscaloosa it's going to be too tough for Texas to get the W. We got one coming in here from David, and he says West Virginia finishes with 9 wins and top 4 in the Big 12 standings. Now, I am a West Virginia fan, and immediately I am selling this hot take. I don't see West Virginia winning 9 games this season. Now, could West Virginia have somewhat of a bounce back year and get around 7 wins, or at least go 6-6 and make a bowl game? I think that is possible, but 7-5 is kind of the ceiling I have coming into this season as a West Virginia fan. Possibly 8-4, but that would be very shocking to me as a West Virginia fan. Right now, Vegas has our win total at like 4.5 or 5. Like, they don't even have us winning a bowl game. That's pretty tough, and I'm a big WVU fan. I hope that I am wrong, but I am selling this hot take. We got one coming in here from Sean Ricks Jr., and he says his college football playoff consists of Michigan, Florida State, USC, and Ohio State. Now, the reason why I am immediately selling this hot take is because there are no SEC teams in your college football playoff. Now, would I like to see a college football playoff with no SEC teams? Yes, I would love to see that, but it is not going to happen. One of these teams are going to get in with one, or even if the top team in the SEC champion has 2 losses, they will get into the playoff, and someone is going to do that, whether it is Alabama, whether it is Georgia, LSU, or even a team like Tennessee. One of those teams will be in the college football playoff, if not more than one. So I'm going to have to disagree with that, although I would love to see that playoff scenario happen this year. We got another one coming in here from Alex, and he says Penn State wins the Big Ten this year. Now, Penn State is going to have a really good squad this year, and I kind of like this hot take. I just cannot buy into it just because Ohio State and Michigan are going to be so good, and more specifically Michigan. I think Michigan takes it again this season, and I'm gonna have to sell this hot take. But Penn State has a squad. They have a top 10 roster for sure, and probably going to be in the top 10 or around the top 10 all season long, but I just don't see them being able to win the Big Ten this year. Next one's coming in here from Jaguar, and he says Quinn Ewers wins the Heisman while leading Texas to the college football playoff. Now, this would be crazy if it were to happen, and like I said earlier, Texas does have a chance at beating Alabama. Like, they have the talent, they do every season, but are they actually going to be able to make it to the college football playoff, win the Big 12 conference? Because I don't think they win in Tuscaloosa, so that's already going to be a loss. They have to dominate the Big 12, and they by far have the best roster in the Big 12 conference, but are they going to be able to put it together and actually win the league this year? I'm going to have to sell this hot take. It's too much here with Quinn Ewers winning the Heisman while also leading Texas to the college football playoff. I just don't see it happening, but I do think Texas has potential for a really good year this year, but until they prove me wrong, I just cannot get on board with them being a playoff team. And our last hot take is actually my second hot take of the video, and this kind of goes against what Jaguar just said with Texas, and that is who my predicted Big 12 champion is, and that is going to be that my hot take is that Central Florida wins the Big 12 championship their first year in the league. So this is a very hot take, and a lot of you guys would probably sell this one because it is very hot. There are a ton of teams that I think are going to be really good in the Big 12 this year. I think Oklahoma has a bounce back year. I think Texas has potential to be really great this year. Kansas State is going to be awesome this year. TCU, but Central Florida, look out for them. They have a squad with Gus Malzahn there as the head coach. Look out for them. I have the Knights winning the Big 12 championship as my really hot take in their first season in the league. But that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about these hot takes and my hot takes, of course, as well. Subscribe if you guys are new, and if you guys want your take in the next video, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be on the lookout for the YouTube community page post that I make. You just have to comment on those posts and you can be in the next one. So that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching.